Hey guys, my name is TL and welcome back to Garrett's Tutoring. Today I'm going to be covering the calculator section of the questions that I did last video, and this is going to be the calculator section, so if you feel more comfortable using your calculator, feel free to do so. However, for these questions, I'm not going to use a calculator because I want to show you that most of these questions don't require a calculator at all. It'll just help you with time and stuff. So before we begin, I would just like to introduce Carrot Tutoring. We are a student-run organization that helps students achieve their dream scores, all for free. Whether it's SAT, ACT, IB, AP, general high school topics, or general English exams, we have exceptional tutors and we offer them for free. So if you are interested, feel free to sign up in the link in the description and we will check your eligibility. So with that being said, let's begin. The recommended daily calcium intake for a 20-year-old person is 1,000 milligrams. 1 cup of milk contains 299 milligrams of calcium, and 1 cup of juice contains 261 milligrams of calcium. Which of the following inequalities represents the possible number of cups of milk, M, and cups of juice, J, a 20-year-old person could drink in a day to meet or exceed the recommended daily calcium intake from these drinks alone? So the first thing I'm going to note is that we have to meet or exceed 1,000 because this one is, let me just use the line. This one is 1,000 and meet or exceed. And then 1 cup of juice contains 261 and 1 cup of milk contains 299. So when I write out this inequality, it's going to be greater than or equals to 1,000. And let's just put how much we have for milk right here, 299 times the glasses of milk, which is M, plus 261J. And that's just going to be the value of the calcium in 1 cup of juice times the glasses of juice. So as we can see here, A is going to be the answer. B would be incorrect because it would be meet or exceed and not just exceed. And C and D would be wrong because as you drink more glasses of milk, you would consume more calcium. Since M and J, the number of milk and juice cups, are in the denominator, if those values increase, the number will get smaller. A research assistant selected 75 undergraduate students at random from the list of all students enrolled in the psychology degree program at a large university. She asked each of the 75 students, how many minutes per day do you typically spend reading? The mean time reading in the sample was 89 minutes, and the margin of error for this estimate was 4.28 minutes. Another research assistant intends to replicate the survey and will attempt to get a smaller margin of error. Which of the following samples will most likely result in a smaller margin of error for the estimated mean time students in the psychology degree program read per day? So first I'm going to start off with the margin of error. She wants a smaller margin of error and she wants to replicate it. So we have to look at these choices and determine which sample will result in a smaller margin of error. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the differences in the question. The first one has psychology and the second one has all degree programs. So if we're focusing only on psychology, then we will get less variance and as a result the margin of error would be smaller. So B is incorrect. And also D says the same thing, so that would be incorrect also. However, now we have to compare the number. So if we wanted to get a smaller margin of error, what we need to do is take a larger sample of the population so that the sample is more representative of the population. And as a result, we're just going to go with 300 since 300 is greater than the original 75 that she surveyed. A company's manager estimated that the cost, C, in dollars of producing N items is C is equal to 7N plus 350. The company sells each item for $12. The company makes a profit when the total income from selling a quantity of items is greater than the total cost of producing that quantity of items. Which of the following inequalities gives all possible values of N for which the manager estimates that the company will make a profit? So in order to make a profit, the income has to be greater than the cost, so profit when income minus cost is greater than 0. So when this is greater than 0. So in this case, let's just set income greater than cost. And now we know that each item sells for $12, so that's just going to be 12 times the number of items that they sell. And N items represents the number of items. And that's going to be greater than 7N plus 350. And now let's just move this N to one side, 5N greater than 350. n is greater than 70, and it would be C. These are random answers. These are calculation errors, 84, and this is just the wrong side because in order to make a profit, you need more income than you actually have cost. At a primate reserve, the mean age of all male primates is 15 years, and the mean age of all female primates is 19 years. Which of the following must be true about the mean age M of the combined group of male and female primates at the primate reserve? So we know that they must contain male. Male has to be greater than or equal to 1. Females has to be greater than or equal to 1. And I'm referring to the number of male and female primates. So if we take a look, if the mean or the primate reserve was just all females, then the mean age would be 19. So that's the upper bound. And if we look at the mean age of all males, let's say that the primate reserve was all males, then we know that the mean would be 15. However, we cannot determine whether or not it will be 17 because we don't know the proportion of male and females, because with more males, it would lean more towards 15, and with more females, it will lean towards 19. But 17 only results if we have an equal number of male and female. So we just know that the mean has to be less than 19 and greater than 15. D. A researcher wanted to know if there's an association between exercise and sleep for the population of 16-year-olds in the United States. She obtained survey responses from a random sample of 2,000 United States 16-year-olds and found convincing evidence of a positive association between exercise and sleep. Which of the following conclusions is well supported by the data? So let's notice the difference in the answer choices. So positive association, that looks good to me. B also mentions positive associations, but in this case it's talking about the world. So this part I have a problem with because we're only talking about the United States since the sample is only taken from the United States. And the same thing here, D also mentions the world, which is incorrect. And now let's compare C and A. A mentions the positive association and C represents a cause and effect. Now, since this is a survey, there is no cause and effect that can be found. Only in an experiment can you determine cause and effect. So as a result, C is going to be incorrect and A is the final answer. A biology class at Central High School predicted that the local population of animals would double in size every 12 years. The population at the beginning of 2014 was estimated to be 50 animals, and if P represents the population and years after 2014, then which of the following equations represents the class's model of the population over time? So what we want to do is make it so that every 12 years we get this 50 times 2, or the population at the time. Let's just start with the initial population. So once we plug in 12, we just want 50 times 2. And looking straight at this right now, we have this one. So if we put this in right here, n over 12, we just plug in 12 here, that would be 12 over 12. And that is equal to 1. So it would be 2 to the first times 50, which is what we want. Now, C would be incorrect because if we plug in 12 right there, you would get 50 times 2 to the 144th power, which is not doubling every 12 years. And then the same thing with B and A. These might lead to a double population, but it won't be a consistent doubling because every single doubling, you need more in order to double the amount. In the figure above, triangle ABC is similar to EDC, with BAC corresponding to CED and ABC corresponding to CDE. Which of the following must be true? So here, we already know that these are vertical angles, and a BAC corresponds to CED, so we have this one right here, and CDE, and CBA. Alright, so now we know that these two angles, are going to be equal to each other. Now let's look at the answer choices. Line AE is parallel to BD. That's not true. We already see them crossing, so that's not going to be parallel. Now, we don't know that they're perpendicular because we have no other information in terms of the vertical angles. We can't calculate supplementary angles because that's how you would typically find the angle BCE. BCE and angle ECD are collinear. So the angle sums must equal 180. However, we don't know any information, so we can't come up with the perpendicular conclusion for both of these, and we're left with C. And we can also prove this using alternate interior angles. We know that angle CED is equal to BAC. So there we have a pair of alternate interior angles, and as a result, we have parallel lines. And if you don't know what line I'm talking about, it's going to be AB right here, and DE. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus cx plus 8, where c is a constant. In the xy plane, the graph of f intersects the x-axis at 3 points, negative 4, 0, 1/2, 0, and p 0. What is the value of c? So I'm just going to solve this by plugging this point in, the first point. You could also plug in this point using your calculator, but this is a little bit easier. So we know that f of x, or y, is equal to 0, and we just plug in negative 4. So here we can simplify this to minus 4c plus 8. Here that goes into 16 plus 48. Here that goes into 64, negative 64, times 2, which is negative 128. And here we have 80, minus 4c plus 8 is equal to 0. And we have 4c is equal to negative 72. C is equal to negative 18. And question 18 to 20 refers to the following information. The first metacarpal bone is located in the hand. The scatter plot below shows the relationship between the length of the first metacarpal bone and the height of 9 people. A line of best fit is also shown. How many of the 9 people have an actual height that differs more than 3 centimeters from the height predicted by the line of best fit? So here we just have to look at the line of best fit and see where the points are 3 spots away. First, we must determine the scale. So if we go here, 165, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it goes up by 1, and we just need to look for 3 lines. So this is obviously greater than 3 lines. 3 lines. That one's 4 or 5 lines right there. This one's 4, and this one too. So we have 4 points. This one's actually going to be 2 points, or 2 lines. So that one's going to be within those bounds. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the slope of the line of best fit in the context of this problem? So in this case, what we need to do is just read the answer choices and see what fits into the axes of the graph. So let's see. The predicted height in centimeters of a person with a first metacarpal bone length of 0 centimeters. So C and D both mention 0 centimeters, and that's just going to be the y-intercept. That's not going to be the slope. So when x is 0, that is going to be the y value. So C and D are wrong. The first metacarpal bone increase in centimeters for every increase in height. However, look at the x-axis. We are measuring the length of the first metacarpal bone on the x-axis. So in this case, we will need to have the predicted height increase for 1 centimeter increase in the first metacarpal bone. Because remember that the slope formula is change in y over change in x. So x should be the second statement, and we are measuring the change in that and predicting the height based on that change. So guys, that's all I have for today. If you guys enjoyed this content or have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribed, liked, or shared it with your friends. Now, before we go, I just wanted to introduce Kara Tutoring. If you're interested in any of our services, or you want to be a tutor, feel free to use the link in the description and fill out the form. See you guys in the next video.